Crystal Palace signed 4 players during the summer transfer window, but there were plenty of potential signings that got away from them. Palace did sign Mamadou Sakho from Liverpool on transfer deadline day, to add to the signing of Jairo Riedewald from Ajax and the loan signings of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Timothy Fosu-Mensah from Chelsea and Liverpool respectively. But over the course of the summer there were plenty of players who were linked with moves to South London, which didn't come off for one reason or another. Read more how we assess Crystal Palace's summer transfer activity here. We take a look at a starting 11 Palace could have had if they had signed some of those players they were linked with. Goalkeeper. We could include any number of players in this position, given that Frank de Boer stated that it was a priority for him to sign another goalkeeper, following the departure of Steve Mandanda to Marseille. But while players like PSV's Jeroen Zoet, West Ham United's Adrian and Tottenham stopper Michel Vorm were linked, perhaps the strongest link to Palace was Barcelona goalkeeper Jasper Cillessen, who has previously worked with Palace boss Frank de Boer and was heavily linked with the Eagles earlier on in the summer. However, he said he wanted to stay and fight for his place at Barcelona, ending rumours of a move to Palace. Defence. This was another area that was seen as a priority for Palace, shown by the fact that of the 4 signings made, 3 of them were defenders. But while Palace finally landed a number 1 target at the end of the window in Sakho, to add to the arrivals of fellow defenders Riedewald and Fosu-Mensah, there were plenty of other players linked with Palace who didn't sign. That list of players included Tottenham defender Kevin Wimmer, who was linked with Palace, West Brom and Stoke City, only for the Austrian defender to join the Potters, while the ex-Palace man stayed put in East London. Palace were also said to be close to beating Stoke City to the signing of Bruno Martins Indi from Porto earlier on in the window, but the Dutchman did eventually join the Potters, having previously spent time on loan with Mark Hughes' side last season. Another defender who was strongly linked with Palace was Arsenal's Callum Chambers, who can play at centre-back or as a right-back. He was reported to have been the subject of a £20 million bid from the Eagles earlier this summer. But the move failed to materialise, and while he was also linked with Leicester City late on in the window, Chambers remains an Arsenal player. And on deadline day, Palace were understood to be in talks with Manchester City over a deal to sign Eliaquim Mangala, with talk of a £23 million move for the out-of-favour defender. However, that didn't happen, as Palace ultimately focused on the deal for Sakho, which they finally completed just in time. There were plenty of other defenders linked with Palace over the course of the summer, including former Arsenal duo Thomas Vermaelen and Bakary Sagna, while Joel Veldman and Kenny Tete from De Boer's former club Ajax were also reportedly on Palace's radar. West Ham centre-back José Font was also linked with Palace in the closing stages of the window, but he stayed put in East London. Midfield. This was not such a priority area for Palace this summer, with the Eagles well stocked in the middle of the park. They did sign Ruben Loftus-Cheek on a season-long loan from Chelsea, but there were still several players linked to a move to the Eagles. They included Southampton midfielder Jordi Clashy, who was a surprise name linked in the closing stages of the window, although it always seemed unlikely, and he made the loan move to Belgian side Club Brugge. Another name that cropped up over the summer was that of Arsenal midfielder Jack Wilshere, who was a target for Palace in the summer of 2016, before he made the move to Bournemouth on loan. There was speculation he would make another loan move this summer, but he ultimately stayed put. Palace were also reportedly interested in signing Senegalese midfielder Bidou Ndiaye, who at one point was said to be closing in on a move to an unnamed Premier League club, with West Ham also said to be interested. But instead, he moved from Osmanlispor to Galatasaray. Demarai Gray was another player linked late on in the window with Palace. Tottenham and Bournemouth are all said to be interested in signing the Leicester City winger. However, while talk of a potential swap deal involving Andros Townsend was mooted, Leicester had no desire to sell. Read more. Crystal Palace leaves space for another player in 25-man squad attack. Palace boss Frank de Boer said that signing a new striker was a priority for him, but no new forward arrived in South London. It was not for the want of trying though, with a host of forwards linked with the Eagles over the course of the summer, including the likes of former Arsenal and Manchester United man Robin van Persie, Barcelona forward Mounir El Haddadi and Tottenham's Vincent Janssen. Read more. Out-of-contract strikers Crystal Palace could look to sign, but on deadline day, there were two strikers who were heavily linked with the Eagles, with Everton striker Ousmane Niasse the closest to joining the club. He arrived with Mamadou Sakho for talks with the club late on as the clock ticked down on deadline day, but left soon after, failing to agree a deal, with Palace chairman Steve Parish commenting on the one that got away in the final few hours of the window. Another player who was strongly linked in the closing stages of the window was Besiktas striker Cenk Tosun, with Palace reportedly identifying the Turkish international as a possible signing. They faced competition from Premier League rivals Newcastle United, but while there was reportedly a willingness for a deal to be done, no agreement was reached.